Hello everybody and welcome to Toy2TU Curator's Corner. With today's announcement that we're going back to level 2, this will be the last episode of Bite-Sized Dunedin history, for now at least. And what better way to finish than with a look at Dunedin's oldest monument, the Cargill Memorial, for which we have numerous historic photographs. Check the description for details if you'd like a copy of any of them. It's kind of appropriate that Dunedin's first monument, outside of its cemeteries, should have been to the city and province's founding father, Captain William Cargill. Though not universally popular, no one could gainsay the key role that the old captain had played in Otago's establishment. Without him, it would simply never have come to pass. He then led the settlers with vigour, and pursued his firm, if rather narrow, vision of Otago's future direction right up until just before his death in 1860. 2 years later, the Otago Provincial Council earmarked funds for a monument to be erected to commemorate Cargill, with suggestions that it should be in the octagon and possibly include a fountain so that it would be useful as well as ornamental. The provincial engineer Charles Swire then came up with this design, an extravagantly Gothic tower structure that seemed to vaguely echo the much larger memorial to Sir Walter Scott in the centre of Edinburgh. It was significantly smaller in scale though, just 7.5 metres high, rather than the soaring 61 metre height of the Edinburgh structure, with its 287 internal steps to a viewing platform at the top. No one in Dunedin was able to provide a low enough tender for the monument to be constructed locally, so the work was done in Melbourne instead, and the monument arrived in sections early in 1864. But when it was completed later that year, the reaction was mixed, to say the least. The Otago Daily Times described it as an eyesore, a trumpery, unsubstantial-looking thing that was a poor compliment to Cargill's memory. And you'd have to agree that it does look a bit forlorn in these images amidst the muddy wasteland that constituted the octagon at that time. The surroundings were apparently supposed to have been developed into gardens, in which this ornate Gothic edifice might have looked somewhat more appropriate, but that never happened. Sitting bang in the middle of the carriageway through the octagon, it quickly became apparent that the monument was a bit of a nuisance where it was. And when graffiti and vandalism became a problem too, necessitating this protective picket fence, there were calls from its detractors to get rid of the memorial altogether. Instead, in 1872 it was decided to relocate it to the Exchange and place it on a small reserve left over from when the Mechanics' Institute had occupied the site. This was actually an altogether more appropriate spot historically, just metres from where Captain Cargill had landed in 1848, and on the very spot where he had subsequently conducted his official business as the provincial superintendent when the provincial council met in the Mechanics' Institute there. But while appropriate historically, the monument was now plonked down in the middle of another key thoroughfare, where it again looked a bit marooned as streets busy with traffic flowed all around it. Much later, in 1911, underground toilets were installed beneath the monument, a further insult perhaps to the captain's memory. Or maybe not. He was an old soldier after all, and a practical sort of man who might have appreciated urinals being part of his memorial. The toilets were closed in 1961, and the monument was lucky to survive another push for its demolition at the same time. Fortunately, it did endure, and in 1996 the lower portion of High Street was closed, creating the piazza space in front of John Wycliffe House, in which Cargill's monument now anchors the northwestern perimeter. Just like the old captain himself, the memorial has proven to be a stubborn survivor, and I for one am glad that it still graces our city centre. Long may it endure.